What's up, Doom Nation? Welcome back. You were listening to the Two Doom Men podcast, and as always, it's your host, Skaggs, and the Captain. What's going on, buddy? What do we got on today's list? What do we got coming up? I know it's going to be an interesting few weeks, and it's been an interesting few weeks in the news.
It always is.
Yeah.
This one was particularly interesting because it just, if you watch our last episode when we had on Lance, we kind of in a way predicted what was going to occur the next couple of days. We titled the episode UFOs and False Flags. When we had Lance on, we had talked about the Chinese spy balloon.
Excuse me. Goddamn, I'm choking.
All right. We had talked about Chinese spy balloon, and then after that, we kind of started talking a little bit about UFOs and UAPs and stuff like that. And I had mentioned how I thought that, it was suspicious. And Lance had said how they could be used as basically flying false flags.
Yep.
It was ironic because the very next day started the trend of every day there was an unidentified flying object shot down by the Air Force the next few days. 3 in total, 4 including the spy balloon itself. So we're going to get a little bit into that. Kind of follow up on. We got tweets of the week. Also, we got some interesting stuff coming up next week. Captain, you're going to be recording with Garrett again tomorrow.
Yes, I am. So some more bonus content coming out to Doom Nation.
And that will be digging into a couple. What do you guys got on the topic?
We are going to be talking about the chemical spills in the trains, and in the truck. And I just came up with a theory of possibly what if we shot down China's balloon and China retaliated by derailing all these fucking trains.
It'll be interesting to dive into.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to approach it organized. We'll keep those topics for that.
And then I think also we're going to be talking a little bit about the potential list of Epstein Island clients. So we'll see about that.
That'll be interesting. So that'll be next week, the next episode after this. Next week, we are also going to be guesting on some other podcasts.
Yeah, guest appearance.
Yes, I'm going to be on the Welsh Republic podcast. Made friends with somebody on Twitter. They asked me to come on, so I'll be going on that one. And we will be going back on our favorite person, the Unfit Statesman's show. We'll be recording that with him Thursday night, so he'll put that up probably about 2 weeks from now. But those are always fun. It's always a good time to check him out.
And just we texted about him just randomly one day, and now here he is hitting us up. And I just said too that we need to get him back on the show as well. So that's awesome to work with him.
The podcast universe, it knew.
Yes,
I knew the 3 doomed men had to get back together. So yeah, man, let's just jump into it. We kind of called it. We kind of predicted it that the UFO stuff was suspicious. I have some stuff. I got some theories. We'll talk about it a little bit. But I thought maybe we could just kind of shoot the shit about it. Honestly.
Yeah, I want to bring up. You said last week that all these UFO sightings and stuff were all government sources.
Sure. My point was that all of the videos, the recent stuff that has been portrayed as credible evidence for UFOs, I'm skeptical because all the videos always originate with the point, the origination point is always the government in a sense, like an F-16 video or a military video or something like that. It's very rarely ever Billy Joe Bob in Alabama's home video that's posted on Twitter, which it was with the spy balloon, right? So I thought that was proof of it can be done by a random person. So go ahead. Where's your point? So,
with that being your point, and that's kind of, where I was too with it, that it's suspicious. And then we're shooting them down. We're shooting them down over Canada, and we got to explain NORAD, really shitty explanations of NORAD agreements going on.
Right.
But there was nothing found. Nobody had any videos. How many videos were posted when the Chinese balloon got shot down? Right. Nope. Where are all these other videos from millions of people looking for these objects? Of any debris falling? And 2, didn't you say they also put out a comment saying that nothing's been recovered?
There's no debris has been recovered, right?
Yeah.
So right. Just to give context, including the balloon again, there's been 4 incidents where things have been shot down over North America. Right now, I think I made a tweet where isn't it just a little bit suspicious how no one's really asking that many questions about this? I honestly don't think outside of Pearl Harbor, which wasn't necessarily North America, that's the Pacific Ocean. I don't think there's ever been really a situation where we've shot down over the region of North America that many objects, like in that short period of time. Like, we normally don't fight wars over here, especially in modern days with like our modern technological advancement over every other country in the world. So it's noteworthy that we shot down 4 things in the course of a week when we probably have never done that before. Now what you're saying is
the first time they're admitting it.
Right, at least that they're admitting it, sure. But I mean, what you're saying is a good point, right? Like, there was video of the balloon, but the other 3 scenarios, there's no video. And it was being plastered everywhere on the news. Like, everybody knew about this for the most part. It was on the corporate press. People like us were talking about it. It's all over social media. So people had eyes on the sky. I don't know if you saw a lot of the videos the past week as well of people were catching the Starlink array on video. I don't know if you've ever seen what that looks like before. And people were getting that confused with UAP, UFO stuff. You could sometimes see the Elon Musk Starlink array. It's basically like a line of satellites, and because they're very reflective, if you're looking, you might see them fly by. So so many people were up looking at the sky. They caught that on video and mistook that for UAP stuff. But we didn't see any of the other things that the military is saying, that the other 3 things that we shot down. On top of the fact that there wasn't any debris, located or recovered, they're saying.
So that means if they shot something down, I mean, like, you at least have to find something, you know what I mean? Like, to make this believable, to say there's no debris. So then, well, let's go. All right. So I like that aliens are in the news, because literally one of our first episodes was Bob Lazar, and we talked about aliens. And so that would mean we didn't shoot something down. We hit something and it went away. Think of what I'm saying. Yeah. Think of what I'm saying. So now there could be more coming back for all we know.
Right.
But if you shot something down, there has to be debris. You know what I mean? Like, was it going to all burn up between? What scientific bullshit lie are they going to give us?
What you're saying is that the story stinks like shit.
Yeah.
Right. From the start to the finish, there's a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of things that are contradictory that don't make sense. Number one, you're right. If you shot something down, there should be debris somewhere, in a sense. Number two, when the spy balloon first came over, the real spy balloon, the original one, we were told, it's not that big of a deal. We were monitoring it and collecting information from it. And then we shot it down once it was safe. But then when these other 3, things were found, they were just shooting fucking, like Yosemite Sam. They were shooting them down like ASAP.
One of them was over Canada.
Yes. Right.
Okay. So
the joint NORAD response one.
So I'm not saying that we don't have an alliance with them and we're not protecting them, but like, America and American military reacted faster to shoot down an object over Canada than it did the original Chinese balloon.
Right. Again, my point is just that it's contradictory. On the first time, they're saying it's not that big of a deal. And the second time, like I said, they're like Yosemite Sam, shooting everything down as soon as they see something. Now, what exactly are these things? They're not aliens. They're not, right? The fact that they're even saying they're unidentified objects, or they had said that they were unidentified, that's a little bit contradictory in of itself, in my opinion. I don't think the Air Force just shoots things down without identifying them, right? Like, imagine if it was a person in a fucking Cessna who didn't know what they were doing, and then you just shot them down, right? So it's obviously got to be something they're covering up, or a distraction perhaps that they're making. But if it really was an unidentified craft and people do want to think it's aliens, I mean, what, they just shot down alien crafts? Like, is that even possible?
After
you expect
all
us to
these
really
years,
believe that? And then, like, you've just threatened them without any diplomacy or anything. So it's not.
I have a conspiracy question.
Gaslighting. Sure.
So just for the topic of aliens, we'll go on a little fun rant with the aliens, because so much serious that's been going on. Do you believe that there's possibly that if there are aliens, the government reached out to them, or so, one contacted the other before, like, the masses could know, and they've worked together, and there is some MIB situation?
No, I think if there are aliens and they're smart enough to maybe traverse the space that's so distant from wherever they come from, they'd be smart enough to know how evil the government is, and I don't think they'd be
interested. Yeah, but I think they'd also be smart enough to know that they could use this tool to easily take over the planet.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't always.
If you're a warmongering planet,
I don't foresee them as being a warmongering species. I don't think something that is smart enough, again, to travel such a great distance would have any need of being warmongering towards us. Like, if you could figure out how to
resources,
once you understand the distances in space, yeah, but I know, but you could get these resources on any other rock that doesn't have life on it. That's the way
it's just our turn now.
But again, if you're smart enough to be able to traverse the distance, and if you understand the distances in space, a species is smart enough to figure out how to traverse that, they could just go to any other rock without life and take the resources from that rock. There'd be no need to come to us hostilely, in a sense.
Right.
They'd be more interested in, like, wow, this is interesting. Here's a different form of life we haven't encountered before. They'd probably be more scientific about it and just like observe and learn, because life is interesting. We find life interesting. We find an ant hill, right, and we observe it, and we're like,
so there's an Earth documentary on Space Netflix.
They might be. Yeah, they might be in Space Netflix. Yeah, they might be. Yeah, Planet Earth, right? It might be. Maybe they're the ones who produce that. Planet Earth Netflix documentary. Yeah, man. So I mean, where we're going with this, I thought the whole UFO hysteria, the whole thing just stinks to high heavens.
Oh, it does.
Smells like a distraction. We got some clips and some information, if you think we're crazy. The clown lady, KGP, she talked about it. You know, they laughed it off. Let's see what they had to say.
And one last thing before I turn it over to the Admiral, I just wanted to make sure we address this from the White House. I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Wanted to make sure that the American people knew that, all of you knew that, and it was important for us to say that from here because we've been hearing a lot about it. I'm not.
Would you tell us?
I'm just, I loved E.T. the movie, but I'm just going to leave it there. And
that's probably the best job she's done as.
I was going to say, I've never seen her so lively and informative.
Yeah,
which makes me wonder, like, can we believe what she said? And I sit back and I just look at her, and it's not because of my bias; it's because of her sketchy track record.
Well, she's not good at the job.
Yeah,
what makes but she was pretty good here.
What
I guess that is
suspicious in
itself.
Yeah. Now you're doing good. What? No, guys, it's not the aliens. You know that job you guys have been wanting me to do? I'm gonna do it right now and tell you it's not aliens.
It's it's interesting and it's suspicious that she did such a good job this time. It's also, man, I mean, for 4 days they gaslighted everybody. They said unidentified, their way that they normally put is like UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, I think they call it. So they gaslit everyone for 4 days, the Pentagon, the government, and then they have a press conference where they'll just chuckle it off, right? Oh no, it wasn't aliens the whole time. So I also got a little bit now. You take this with a grain of salt because of who this comes from. But I got a little bit more from Dan Crenshaw, right? Where he says, everyone wants answers on the objects flying over the United States. Today, members of Congress finally got more info from senior military officials. Here's what we found out. We still don't know what these other 3 objects were. We're calling them unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAPs. This is what I just said, right? We know exactly what the China spy balloon was, and immediate steps were taken to stop its data from being sent to China. The UAPs were in FAA commercial zones and had no signals or navigation lights. The first 2 UAPs were smaller, the size of an ATV, and harder to detect. The third resembled a balloon and was easier for the radar to pick up. All moved with wind currents. Why are we just now seeing them? Heightened surveillance means we're tracking more objects. These objects passed near DoD facilities and posed a danger to commercial aircraft. Why they were shot down. China balloon posed no threat to civilian aircraft because it was above 60,000 feet. Newer technology has allowed for more detection in recent years. UAPs weren't detected before because our radars were not adjusted for slow-moving objects. There's obviously still a lot we don't know. I'm going to continue pushing for transparency so Americans know what's going on in the skies above their country. Now, Again, like I said, take a grain of salt because it's Dan Crenshaw, but I do appreciate the fact that that's probably one of the most eloquent, well thought out explanations you've heard on this whole scenario.
And if it was to be truthful, that's like a step in the right direction. Like, more of our representatives need to be acting like this. Put out a thread of like as much transparent information you have,
if you can actually believe it, right?
Yes,
but yeah,
at least the end of the day,
sure,
yeah,
it's at least not the normal like appeal to authority. It's not UFOs because we said it ain't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's at least some sort of jargon, technical jargon.
At the end of the day, there is to be something worried, because the spectrum of all this is some kid built a couple of drones in his garage, you know what I mean? And the military took him out. Or on the other side of the spectrum is China, Russia, all of our enemies have started deploying spy equipment to the country,
right?
Or dirty bomb, like a low grade, you know what I'm saying? Anything that can fuck us over, because we potentially have, or not potentially, we have a weaker administration. Daddy Trump's out of office. No one would pull shit like this. And now they see Biden as a joke. You see him mumbling and and forgetting what he's doing and all these problems that he has. You could argue whatever you want if you really think he's doing, good for the country, but I don't believe any of our listeners are going to believe that one. We look weak. You know what I mean? We look like we could be stepped on. Afghanistan was a complete shit show. Why not start testing the waters harder and harder? Those are the two ends of the spectrum we're dealing with here. So no matter what it is, it's not good.
Sure. I agree. We'll get into a couple maybe of our theories here. And I think you're, essentially like what we were talking about before, like war is coming theory, in a sense. It could be what you're saying. It could be they're just prodding and poking and prodding because, these fucking guys, they're soft now that Biden's in charge. It could also be something to do with that. It could literally be that, maybe perhaps war is coming, right? And this is the beginning stages, the scouting, right? If you're China and you're planning to move on Taiwan soon in the next 6 to 12 months, right, you're going to kind of want to see where like all of our equipment is located, right? Because the president has said that we would defend Taiwan if China invaded, right? Now, if you're going to plan the largest invasion ever attempted, because it's going to take, we covered this, right? It's going to take a larger invasion than even Normandy in World War II to invade the island of Taiwan. You're going to want to know exactly where all of our equipment is, right? Like they're going to want to know, is our equipment more towards the West Coast, right? So they can figure out the logistics. How long is it going to take us to move our equipment to counter them? You know what I'm trying to say?
We got equipment there already, but
right. But I'm just like the majority of our equipment is on the mainland, right? So they might be trying to get an idea. Where's everything at? How much time do we have, right? Like the reason why the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor is because they wanted to buy time for them to go and expand their colonies in a sense back in World War II. So there could be some planning or sense going on there. I mean, me and you talked a little bit about yesterday on text, man. I mean, I'm seeing in regards to Russia, Ukraine, I'm seeing troop movements, massive troop movements of the Russians. In
Tom Green informed everybody in one afternoon.
That was interesting. I'm hearing 300,000 to 700,000 Russian soldiers are mobilizing around Ukraine, and I'm also hearing that
flatten Ukraine.
Yeah, and Putin is prepping a speech soon, right? So that leads me to think a second invasion is coming soon, a way larger invasion. I don't know, man. Like just knowing history too, the way the Russians fight, they lose the first year always. They always lose the first year in every war.
I don't think they've lost shit yet. I wouldn't believe.
I'm just saying, like historically, the way they fight is the first year goes awfully, then they regroup, and then they just throw bodies at you.
Yeah,
and they overwhelm you with they don't care about life the way Americans do. Like they don't have this stomach for loss. Like there's no stomach for loss the way we do. Like if we lose one soldier in Afghanistan, like people are just outraged and like we shouldn't be there. They don't give a fuck. They throw, you ever heard of the Battle of Stalingrad, right? Like they're shooting people who are running away on their side. So things could be ramping up, man, all around the world. And it's in a sense blowback.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's blowback. It's just all because of poor policy, in my opinion. So that could be the aspect, right? That could be what it is. It could be a preparation for war or prodding because it's weak. What were you gonna say? You were saying you're glad I brought that up.
So it's funny because I know you're gonna roll your eyes, but back in the day when you read about Q, right? They always talked about a sky event, and they always theorized that it'd be like Project Bluebeam, or I don't exactly remember what that was, or
heard of it, sure.
Right. Or it would be a distraction, or it'd be like the government's last ditch like effort to like gain the control of the narrative back by faking some type of, so you're saying like there could be massive war around the world. Russia could invade Ukraine on this second huge wave. China could be prepping to move on Taiwan. We're viewed as weak. And what do we have? We're testing the airways with UAPs. You know what I'm saying? I know you don't need to believe the back, but there is this theory out there that that's what is going on.
Sure. You know what I mean? I don't have to roll my eyes at the Q thing to think that doesn't make sense, because if the government loves anything, it's they love ramping people up for war.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be trying to distract people from the fact that war could be coming. If anything, I would think they want to be motivating us to all go to war against Russia. I don't think they'd be trying to distract us away from it. I have another theory as to what they might be distracting us over, but go ahead. What if what?
I didn't say what if finally we're viewed as the bad guys. That's why they're not trying to ramp us up for war.
Well, we are the bad guys to the government, right? But they still they what was it, man? Do you remember when we were at the Libertarian Party convention, the speech Scott Horton gave, where he was talking about how the division in the country right now is good because they need the conservatives to fight the war.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I thought that was a great point, where Scott Horton was basically saying, like, the fact that the country's so divided right now, they can't justify without tremendous amounts of propaganda going to fight a war. Because right now it's mostly conservatives that serve in the armed forces and are the ones that go do the fighting. So if you can't get them behind your, behind the cause, right? You can't get it done. So that's the problem they're having right now.
They still need to do it anyway. Yeah,
sure. That's a danger with the whole China thing. Well, conservatives love to hate the
what about the first thing we saw in the Super Bowl, the join the military commercial,
the paid patriotism? Man, that stuff is disgusting to me now, because I know it's literal. It's not a genuine. It's not like the NFL is doing that because they like to or they care. That's the Department of Defense paying them millions of dollars to run these,
our taxpayer money,
heartstring stories that will get people to want to join the military and
be the hero.
And it's like, why do they want people to join the military? It's because, well, they want to maintain the fucking empire around the globe, right? And I know the military's having recruiting issues.
Yes.
So
that's because of the vaccine.
I don't think it's without doubt, it's definitely because of that. And I also think just a lot of people are not. It's not that people don't want to fight them. I think a lot of people have woken up and they realize that it's bullshit. They realize that it's serving the military for what, to be like, people don't want to be stormtroopers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say? If the homeland was under attack by, like, literally under attack, like there was
Pearl Harbor,
then people might, right? But people don't want to be stormtroopers in service of the empire, which we're right now. So it's a little bit of two things. It's the libertarian thing and it's the conservative thing at the same time, I think.
It'd be real wild to see, if any of these countries had the balls to storm American shores.
I don't think that's possible either. I think even that's fear-mongering from our own government. Like the magic invasion force, I always call it, right? Like we were talking about the logistics of invading Taiwan. That's going to be the largest invasion ever planned by human beings if China pulls that off. Imagine doing that to the United States, across the Pacific. Did you know that the entire planet of Mars could fit in the Pacific Ocean?
That's insane.
So they'd have to send an invasion force across the entire planet.
Right.
It's not possible. They'd get picked off. Plus, you got us. 200 million people got guns. It's not going to work.
And we don't care about rules of engagement. You're here, you're gone.
Yeah, exactly. That would unify everybody. Sure. You see a couple of commies set foot. Yep. Then
the blue hairs would be out there with the Confederates, just blasting people away.
The blue hairs out in LA, they're going to be begging for the good old boys from the South to come over there and protect them. Yeah.
They're going to need all the cowboys from Nevada to come over.
Exactly. So I don't think it's that. I really don't. I don't think they're trying to distract people from looming war. I think they'd be trying to motivate people to get involved, or they'd be trying to use it like, fear, like, war. We gotta stop Putin. He's there, and the commies, they're the evil. So what I think really happened, I gotta be honest with you. My best theory is that it has to do with the Seymour Hersh story and Nordstream 2. Now, if you remember a few months ago, Nordstream 2, which is a pipeline from Russia to Germany that provided gas, was blown up. And at the time, it was hysterical. The original blaming was on Putin and Russia.
Fucking himself over.
Yeah, like this is they literally ran that story. The corporate press literally ran that story and made that.
Why wouldn't they?
And when you think about it, it's like, well, first of all, the pipeline wasn't even on, right? Second of all, Putin controls the on-off button. Why would he blow up the pipeline that he already has off, that he already controls and's got off? And like, he would be blowing up whatever leverage he kind of has over Germany. The leverage of like gas. You need gas to warm houses, to fuel cars, especially in the wintertime. It didn't make any logical sense for Putin to blow up Nord Stream 2. It's a little bit of leverage that he holds over the West. So what everybody thought was it was us, right? Or it was NATO. It was
conspiracy theories were right again.
Sure. So what happened over the same period of time that the UFO stuff started happening was a article came out on Substack, which I'll read a little bit here, but I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it's really, really long. It's by Seymour Hersh.
You're only sharing your background.
Oh, am I? All right. Sorry. It's me who's the dummy today.
Yep.
How about now?
There we go.
All right.
How America took out the Nord Stream pipeline.
So this is by Seymour Hersh, How America Took Out the Nord Stream Pipeline. You're going to say something?
Nope.
Okay. So who is Seymour Hersh? He is a longtime journalist. He's one of the journalists that most people would, I guess, say is someone along the lines of like Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, someone who has authenticity, who still has, who hasn't sold out. He's not like one of these obvious propagandists like a Brian Stelter or
as far as we know. Yeah.
Now, he writes this long article on a Substack. I'll put it in the below. And he is talking about this, and he's essentially laying out the plan, the action around Nord Stream 2 and how America was involved. Now, he didn't just make this up. He's not just coming out with this out of the blue like he's me and Captain. We're just saying, we think we did it, right? Like, that's what we thought. He's coming with information. Now, he had whistleblowers from the government, from our government, come and tell him the entire plan. Now, the whistleblowers are anonymous. I know me and you obviously hate anonymous whistleblowing, right? We hate it. So I think some skepticism is due. But at the same time, I think Hersh has earned the fact that I don't think Hersh is lying about what he's been told.
And at the same time, everybody talking about, it's an anonymous source. How many times has our own government, I think, did Alan say that, or
someone you just spoiled one of my tweets of the week? Sure.
Okay.
That's all right. Let's go to it real quick. Let's give hang on, where is it? Let's give Alan.
That was a fantastic tweet.
It was a great tweet, right? So again, on the start on the topic of trusting anonymous sources or not, Alan Jacoby, he said, how many BS stories have been published by MSM, mainstream media, with a single anonymous source? All of a sudden, that is frowned upon by media outlets when a veteran journalist writes a piece about our current government involved in an act of war, blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. But the White House says it's false. Interesting, right? You see right now how they have been pushing, like you're saying, anonymous sources about Trump, anonymous sources about
everything. The entire episode of Hamilton 68 was based on anonymous sources that Twitter just followed through with. And now all of a sudden, anonymous sources are not credible.
Right now, we can't trust anonymous source. Now, that being said, because we are objective, I'm acknowledging that it's an anonymous source. I don't think Hersh is lying, but I do think back and remember the video I shared of Edward Snowden's, which he retweeted, where they were talking about how journalists would be friendly with people in the CIA or people in the government, and people in the government or the CIA would come to them and give them some information that the journalists could not verify in reality about Vietnam and how they were building airfields in Laos. And there was no way that a journalist could verify that, but they gave them inside information. So if they publish it, which would drum up support for one way or another. So there is an aspect that could be here of that, right? However, I just don't believe it. I don't see it that way. A lot of people on our side, on our camp or whatever, thought it was us who did this. To a sense, perhaps there are some whistleblowers now who come out and told Hersh this, and he's now reporting on it. But I'm not ruling that out either. That it could be like a plant by the CIA.
It's either or. It's for Doom Nation to decide.
Sure. It's why I don't believe it is because this kind of pokes a hole in the whole empire in a sense. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. I don't see how the Inquisitors would want to like poke a hole in what they're doing. You know what I'm trying to say? Like in the empire. So that's why I don't see that as making sense to me. Let's see if I could read a little bit over here. There was a part I was going to pick up, but the article is really interesting. It gets into planning and what exactly happened. Hang on one sec. Sorry. Let's see. All right. So I'll talk about how this actually went down. And it says the Americans at work in Norway operated under same dynamic and dutifully began working on the new problem, how to remotely detonate C4 explosives on Biden's order. It was a much more demanding assignment than those in Washington understood. There was no way for the team in Norway, Norway is where this occurred, basically in the waters of Norway, to know when the president might push the button. Would it be in a few weeks, in many months, or in half a year or longer? The C4 attached to the pipelines would be triggered by a sonar buoy dropped by a plane on short notice. But the procedure involved the most advanced signal processing technology. Once in place, the delayed timing devices attached to any of the 4 pipelines could be accidentally triggered by the complex mix of ocean background noises throughout the heavily trafficked Baltic Sea, from near and distant ships, underwater drilling, seismic events, waves, and even sea creatures. To avoid this, the sonar buoy, once in place, would emit a sequence of unique low-frequency tonal sounds, much like those emitted by a flute or a piano. That would be recognized by the timing device, and after a preset hour of delay, trigger the explosives. You want a signal that is robust enough so that no other signal could accidentally send a pulse that detonated the explosives. I was told by Dr. Theodore Postel, Professor Emeritus of Science, Technology, and National Security Policy at MIT, Postel, who has served as the science advisor to Pentagon's Chief of Naval Operations, said the issue facing the group in Norway because of Biden's delay was one of chance. The longer the explosives are in the water, the greater risk there could be of a random signal that could launch the bombs. On September 26, 2022, a Norwegian Navy P-8 surveillance plane made a seemingly routine flight and dropped a sonar buoy. The signal spread underwater, initially to Nordstream 2 and then on to Nordstream 1. A few hours later, the high-powered C4 explosives were triggered and 3 of the 4 pipelines were put out of commission. Within a few minutes, pools of methane gas that remained in shuttered pipelines could be seen spreading on the water's surface, and the world learned that something irreversible had taken place. So there you have it. That's how it happened. That's what Hersh is sharing. That's who was behind it.
Did Biden push the button on this? Is that what I was to understand? The president's going to push the button?
Yeah, the commander-in-chief has the ultimate call. Maybe not literally push the button. They could, but figuratively, like give the order, go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like go for it. It's a long article. It gets into the planning, gets into who's behind it. It doesn't name the names of the anonymous sources. Gets a little bit into the fallout, but this is important, right?
So this was Biden's plans, Biden's actions. Yep.
And the CIA is involved, and the Navy, right? Their best operators. Norway is involved here as well. It's on their property. Why this is important, why this ties into the UFO thing. Think about what they did, right? The U.S. government. They blew up property of Russia and Germany. Like with the military blew it up without their knowledge, obviously without Russia's knowledge, obviously without Germany's knowledge either. In a sense, that's an act of war. Like, where do you draw the line of like what's an act of war or not? and they spun their propaganda at the beginning saying it was Putin, right? Yep. And then the story kind of went away. But now credible sources all of a sudden come out, or at least, a credible journalist, potentially credible sources come out and in detail, if you read this thing in detail, spell out the entire fucking plan, right? That is a problem because now public sentiment has a person to blame for this. Germany has a person to blame for this. Putin has a person to blame for this. Russia has actually called a United Nations Security Council meeting about this because of this article, like basically confirming it. So yeah, of course, right? Like, what do you do? Right? Oh my God, fuck. Egg on our face. We got caught, right? This goes back to what you're saying before. Get the aliens out.
Yeah.
Get them out. Distract people.
Last-ditch effort. Distract them.
Sure, because the last thing they want to happen is they want to lose whatever court of a public opinion they have left, right? So they don't want people to read this. They don't want people to find out about this. They want to distract from this. So they want people to, look up at the sky. There's fucking aliens, right? We got to defend us from this, from that. Especially when like you get caught doing something wrong, you want to like spin it on something else,
right?
Maybe even spin it on like, look, they're spying on us. They're doing this to us, right? Look, they're violating our airspace. They're doing this to us.
They're projecting,
right? They're projecting exactly. So that's my grand theory here. I think that's probably what they were trying to do. That's why there's no evidence. That's why there's no debris. That's why no one saw it. Why? It didn't fucking happen. There was no balloons. There was no aliens. There was nothing. They closed the airspace. They used, military fighters who were fucking obviously sworn to secrecy to do this. There's no evidence. They were trying to deflect from this story coming out because this story is basically exposing an act of war by our government on the governments of 2 other countries and, implicates us as doing something extremely wrong in the international
starting a war.
Yeah. Something that could start a war, something that could give
the
international community some like credibility back to Putin in a sense.
I'd be surprised that Putin doesn't talk about it whenever he has this speech.
I'm sure he will.
And B, look at how like once Ukraine started, Russian bad, Putin's bad, Putin's bad, Putin's bad. So even if now, because this is what's going to happen, even if this story was to get big, gain traction, and be more credible than we believe, and let's be honest, with all the conspiracy theories that have come true, pretty good chance it's true.
Yeah.
Now, there's still going to be people with the little Ukraine flag around their Facebook profile picture who are going to go, well, we needed to blow up those pipelines. Putin's bad. They're just the bots are going to be out there defending.
Those people are so far gone though. Like it doesn't
matter.
Like,
no
of course,
saving them.
Of course they are. Right? Like those what would be, you see now where what you're saying would be valuable is because we can go back and pull the receipt of those people originally being like, hey, it's Putin who blew up the pipeline, right? Yeah. If the whole thing gets outed as us having done it, those people are going to be like, well, we had to do it because it was the right thing to do and whatnot. But, that I could foresee already a Defiant L post, right? Of like Brooklyn Dad or Joe from Juris being like, hey, Putin blew up the Nordstream 2, right? Like he's evil. And then later on and being like, we had to blow up the Nordstream 2. Like
the best thing we could do.
Themselves. Sure.
But however you cut it, it's this theme of like, there's something coming. There's a war on the horizon coming. Because even now, whether we are being spied on or whether China's getting ready to invade Taiwan, Russia's getting ready to invade Ukraine, now add on top of that, there's potential credible proof that Biden blew up a pipeline in an act of fucking war against Russia and Germany. Somebody's going to get real angry along the way here, and shit's going to start getting out of hand.
It's like Ron Paul said, blowback, right?
Yeah.
He talked about blowback. You can't go around the world and keep sticking your finger in people's fucking faces, right? And expecting there to be no repercussions to this, like, you walking around and sticking your finger in somebody's eye.
Yeah.
Right? This would be us sticking our finger in Putin's eye, right? And then they'll turn around and be like, well, no, he's the aggressor. He's the bad guy, around behind everything. So all we have to do, man, is just not do this shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's very simple. We could just not do any of this, right? Like, that's the magic answer to all this.
Bring all the boys home and let the world sort itself out.
Sort yourselves out. Stop threatening everybody. Stop trying to be the empire. Stop trying to be the world police. Give them their assurances and go the fuck home and leave them alone.
Yeah.
And we don't have to risk the entire planet being blown the fuck up over the Donbass.
Yeah.
Ever seen photos what the Donbass looks like? It's not even really, we're talking about fucking, I don't know, like the Caribbean or some beautiful place. It's a gray Eastern European, land, like it's
flat
is that it?
With a tree or two.
Yeah. Imagine, like, how did humanity go extinct? The Donbass region.
Yeah.
It was all about that. It's insane.
Makes you wonder what they got out there that's so important.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
And on top of it, look at how much of our military aid we've given away to Ukraine. Look at how much money we've spent. Look at how much money and equipment we lost in Afghanistan. Look at how much oil reserves we've given away. It all starts to just fucking add up one after another. It all comes together little by little.
It does, man. It really does. So I think that's honestly my take on why this distraction was happening. Everybody else might have their own opinion. That's fine. I think one thing that everybody does agree on, and we'll agree on, is that it smells like shit. The whole thing smells like shit. I don't think anybody's buying the fact that it was UFOs or that it was, some sort of it's shady. I'm gonna point back to the anomaly tweet from the spy balloon. It's like one thing's for certain, like, we know that they're lying, right? We know, like, the Chinese are lying. We know that our government's lying, but nobody can really put their finger on exactly what they're lying about. But they're lying. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's a white pill in of itself.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that everyone knows that they're lying. We might not know exactly what, because we're not privy to the inside information, although we kind of are in this sense. But everybody, at least a huge portion of the population is now very skeptical of everything.
And we need to be. We need to be. It's the only way this is going to work.
Yeah. So any other points on this, or
no? I mean, I agree with you. I just think the outlook looks bad. I remember these theories that are very similar to what took place back when Q was popular. So it's interesting to see these things fall into place, and that there's something on the horizon. And I was talking to Garrett about this. Like, it's all falling down, man. It's all coming crashing down sooner than later. If this Epstein list has any names in it, Hunter Biden's laptop is coming out as confirmed. There's how many here? I think they just added more hearings to social media tech companies about censorship. COVID's unraveling. Shit is getting dicey for the establishment and around the world. You could feel it coming to a precipice.
You could feel something coming to an head. Sure.
Yeah.
I think this was a great tweet. I didn't choose as a tweet of the week, but I think it was again by Clint Russell of Liberty Lockdown. And he said something along the lines of, from the date Chernobyl happened to the fall of the Soviet Union was about 6 years. He said, he's like, if you want to say that the train crash in East Palestine, Ohio is our version of, Chernobyl, he's like, that sound about right. About 6 years from now, if this whole thing is completely come apart, or it makes sense. Like, if history is going to repeat itself in a sense. So if you're going to say that that's our Chernobyl, and 6 years from now the whole empire is going to collapse, I could see it. I can see in 6 more years, like, the empire falling down and things changing, like the order.
Hopefully it's sooner
of things changing. Yeah, we'll see. What's up, Doom Nation? It is Skaggs here, and thanks for joining us for another episode of the Two Doom Men podcast. If you like political discussion, guns, beer, movie and TV reviews, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share the show with your friends. That's the best way we can get around Big Tech's algorithm. You can also just go to linktree.com/2doommen to find everywhere the show has a presence. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter @Skaggs89. Thank you, everyone, and let's get back to the show. So let's get into some tweets of the week to wrap it up. We're going to try not to go too long here. We got another episode coming up soon. Maybe we'll start off with one of yours, Cap.
I got 2, and I gotta say, man, Twitter is just getting worse and worse and worse for me. No matter how many new people I follow, It is just derivative garbage that is all over. It's just the weakest of the blue check marks saying the most obvious things, man.
The
algorithm's just
your
ruined.
Foxhold and just negativity, unfortunately.
There's nothing of like intelligence. If this is from Adam Kissinger. If Elon Musk thinks it's algorithm that is causing low engagement, it's not. It's the peddling of conspiracies. Americans are overstimulated and exhausted, and he feeds that. Embrace boredom. Are you fucking? This is Twitter's full of conspiracy theories now, and we're overstimulated. I mean, it's just one weak thing to say after another. Peddling conspiracy theories, overstimulated and exhausted. Embrace boredom. Yes, let's be lazy rubes that don't question anything.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. I'm going to look at it that he is so goddamn wrong. If the last couple of years have proved anything, it's that conspiracy theories and whatnot, they drive extremely high engagement.
Yeah.
Right. The Q stuff, prove that. Every other person, like a lot of people who run conspiracy only shows, man, they get a lot of really high engagement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's led to somewhat of even at times like a grifting economy in the conspiracy theory world, right? We're like, are these people really believe some of the crazy shit they're saying? Or are they just saying it because they know it gets really popular? If you
think of,
you know what I'm trying to say? Like, do they really believe it? Or are they just,
example.
Like, it's profitable to say some crazy shit sometimes. To come up with the craziest thing.
Perfect.
So that's just, it's outright wrong what he's saying.
Yeah. Look how much time, money, energy, and technology Congress, the government, the administration, the WHO, the CDC, social media companies, Google, mainstream media put into deciding what is disinformation.
Yeah.
So peddling conspiracies does bring in eyeballs and engagement.
Look, man, I could even use the episode that we did with Flat Earth Dave as an example of how this is not true. When we had Flat Earth Dave on, obviously he's in the sense of conspiracy theories. He thinks the fucking earth is flat. We got 5,000 to 6,000 people, I think, or 4,000 people watched that episode on YouTube.
Yeah.
Why? Not because of us, because we don't normally draw that many fucking people, right?
Yeah.
It's because of Dave. And because Dave is such a conspiracy theorist, a lot of people love that shit, and they followed him. Remember, we talked about a war zone happening in the comments of our video, right? So I'm not saying Dave is grifting. I'm not saying he doesn't believe in the flat earth theory and all that stuff, but you see how that can be profitable, right? How that does drive engagement. So Adam Kinzinger is completely fucking wrong. Like, he's wrong about everything else. He's one of the worst. So no, like, me and you don't do it because we're grifting or we want to like display a conspiracy theory because we think it's gonna make the channel popular. If we think something is true, we just say it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, it does drive high engagement. It does make sense that the algorithm is causing low engagement, because I know Elon and Twitter, the team, they're trying to like unravel a fucking disaster at Twitter of code upon code upon code that they're having a hard time undoing. That's why Twitter, that's probably has to do with some of the problem you're seeing about just negativity only. It's hard to, I've heard it's just layer upon layer of code. It's hard to like unravel that and the whole system not just come apart. So Adam Kinzinger, wrong again. Go my next tweet.
Dick, Adam.
This is by Matt Taibbi. And he says, the people determined to reduce the Twitter files into a partisan pissing match are doing so precisely because the real targets of these stories aren't parties, but the FBI, the DHS, the DOD, and other massive state entities who have been improperly meddling in domestic speech.
What I just talked about.
Yeah. That's a great tweet. I recommend everyone watch the Joe Rogan episode that just came out recently. Had Matt Taibbi.
They talk about the Twitter files?
Oh, yeah. That's why it's
I got to start listening to it. Yeah.
As you know, we've covered them in length. Matt Taibbi is like the guy, kind of the top guy, the guy who's kind of like the first person to break.
Did he say if more are coming?
I didn't finish the whole thing yet.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you get to see behind the curtain of what they've been doing and what's been going on, and he gets to talk about it. And I could share. I heard him say, he's like, basically Elon buys Twitter. He invites us in, and he's like, here's 50,000 files You know, like Elon didn't know what was in there. He's just like, you guys sort through it, figure it out. He's like, so there's so much stuff for them to go through. They're still going through it.
Yeah.
And he makes a couple funny points where he's like, I was looking for something else and I found certain things that I've posted Twitter files about. So it's really interesting. I highly recommend everybody go and watch that episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. All right. Delusional posting.
Yep. Delusional posting. The truth is that if you buy that new Wizard game, you are financially supporting a literal genocide on trans people. Just had to unfollow someone because they were complaining about people being upset at the game. I'm sorry you don't think trans genocide is a big deal. I would like to start off by saying I'm going to buy the new Harry Potter game. I wasn't going to. I heard it's very good. I've learned a little bit about it. And now the deciding factor was this tweet.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's just so bizarre. That's apparently an anti-trans game because J.K. Rowling is behind Harry Potter and she's an avowed feminist, right? So, I mean, this is how far the woke shit has spiraled out of control now. The feminists hate, you know, like the trans people and the feminists hate each other because, you know, like one threatens the other in some sense. So that makes the video game anti-trans genocide because it just has to do with J.K. Rowling to some fucking aspect.
And they feel a genocide is being taken place. But there's no genocide in China and, you know, Yemen and the Middle East. Yeah,
sure.
That genocide, you know, they don't think is a big deal. But this, an imaginary genocide. Yeah.
Sure. That's a point that a lot of people in the libertarian community would make all the time. It's like, well, you know, if you make a joke about trans people or if you point out, hey, like some of this shit is just crazy, they'll make you out to be like genocidal or someone who should be thrown in jail and locked up. But like you're saying, when the government supports a literal war of genocide in Yemen and 500,000 Yemenis die, none of these people even know about that, say a word about it. They support the very same politicians who are supposedly on their side, but they're the ones carrying out the war of genocide in Yemen. So it's like, yeah, man, I made a fucking joke about you, but you're over here like, yeah, what's worse, a joke or literal genocide against actual people?
Yeah. Well, jokes are literal genocide, so check your privilege.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I have heard the game is good, by the way. You guys should go to our buddy Chris. He has been streaming it live on YouTube. He's been playing it out there. He's got a good YouTube channel. Jimbo the Kid, Trash King. He's got 10,000 more nicknames, as I say, than Daenerys Targaryen. Check him out on his YouTube channel. He's been playing that. All right, where are we at? So we tweet number 2 was Alan. I thought Alan had a great tweet there,
which it was
to the Hersh story. I got one more here, and I really like this one. This is from McGill's, and McGill says 2023 is wild. If you're a dude who checks out a woman working out, you're a threat. But if you call yourself a woman and expose yourself to her in the locker room and she feels threatened, she's a bigot. That's the upside down world we live in now. I don't know if you've seen him, Cap, but there's been a trend of videos women are posting on TikTok and whatever of like guys looking at them in the gym. And the girls, they're dressed to the nines, right? You've talked about before that known people that come back out after they get their workout and take photos. They then take videos of dudes looking at them and put it on TikTok, like about how creepy they are, how wrong this is, etc. All right. But you're looking for the attention, number one. So this tweet is pointing to that. And then on the other hand of the insane clown world that we live in, you have scenarios like what happened to Lindsey Graham, the Patriot Podcast Network, where she was in the gym, at her LA Fitness, and a dude walks in the fucking the women's locker room with his dick out, right? But he is a trans person, and Lindsey Graham on Twitter is made out to be a bigot for pointing that. So it's essentially that's okay. Literally, a dude whipping his dick out in the locker room is fine because he's a trans dude.
But where you went wrong is saying literally a dude, because they deny reality,
right?
And they don't literally see this person. So
but another guy just looking at a hot girl in the gym.
Yeah,
let's be honest, we're guys. It happens, right? It's almost instinct. If you see a really beautiful girl, it's hard to like not briefly glance at them. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
That's
I've been to gyms where it's like one of those TikTok houses, you know,
yeah,
where it's, I mean, I can't even say don't wear that because you can wear whatever the fuck you want, but like, come on, what are you doing? You know the way you look, you know what you're doing.
It's like this tweet in that scenario is almost like a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah,
right? Like
it is a glitch in the
most
Matrix.
people like stop and think about that and how that doesn't make any sense, right? And think about
it
like,
hurts to read.
Yeah, like society, like what's happening. Yeah, I think it's a good place to end it, man.
Think so, man. Fucking insanity. All right, Doom Nation, it's been a hell of a week. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be on the lookout for more bonus content from me and the Samurai Garrett from Sergeant and Samurai. Check out Skaggs on, where are you going?
The Welsh Republic podcast, and then, like I said, we will be both be on the Unfit Statesman podcast.
Yes. So I don't think, are we gonna have 2 episodes out this week or just the one?
2 this week, right? We had the one with Lance that came out on Monday. This will be Friday. You will be with Garrett tomorrow. That will come out next week, and we'll see. Maybe you know, I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, we got a lot going on, so it's hard to, you know, we have lives here. We got regular jobs too, so we can't just record every night. But we're coming out with more content. Keep up. Keep in mind the pace is basically going to be like 2 episodes a week for the time being. So try and keep up, folks.
Yeah, so you got plenty to watch, plenty coming down the pipeline. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Doom Nation, thank you. Adios.